Papaw Page.
And of course, Kayse Jo and her family are still struggling from the loss of her dad and granddad.
I like to. It's in my mind. I just see a greater plan, But I'm not broke down by the hurt and pain of loss right now. So I can say that because I still got both my parents. But it's part of a greater plan. It really is. Just have faith in Him.
God's always got a plan, doesn't He?
Yeah, I believe He does. It's a master plan, and it's been planned, I guess, since day one, before we was even planned.
Yeah.
So.
But in the meantime, we just grieve for our brothers and sisters.
It says in the Bible, there's a time for grieving. Any others? Prayer requests, praise reports? All right, let's take them to Him in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, dear God, I'd just like to thank You for waking me and my family up, dear Lord. I'd like to thank You for Brother Barry and the river and what he means to me, dear Lord, in my recovery time, dear Lord. Dear Lord, I ask You that You just make me a better husband, a better Christian, a better friend, a better man in general, dear Lord. Dear Lord, I pray for our country. I pray for all the ones that have been brought to us to lift up in times of losses and times of grief, dear Lord. Dear Lord, I do know it's part of a greater plan. That just sometimes whenever somebody's hurting and grieving, dear Lord, you got to give them something and show them something, dear Lord. Just give them some extra love. Dear Lord, I'd like to ask You to place a hand of protection around me and my family, dear Lord. Times are good right now, and I know that You can't stay on that mountaintop forever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Brother Barry wanted me to show everybody this. This is the recovery Bibles that we're offering. Is that right?
Yeah.
Recovery Bibles, they're good. I've had one before when I was in rehab, but I didn't keep it. I passed it on to somebody else.
The only difference in that is the King James Version. We had the New Translation Version. But it's basically the same thing. It's geared to the 12 steps, geared to recovery, and we're supposed to have some more of these coming in the next week or so.
Where's our offering taker upper at?
Yeah, where's our offering taker upper? You got that in the Word about?
What's that?
The recovery?
Yes.
Yeah, we got some. You want one? I do. Okay, just remind us after the meeting when we get you one.
This is a non-profit organization. What you give keeps the lights on, keeps drinks in the refrigerator, stuff like that. We do offer community service. Just talk to Barry about that. He'll make sure you get them, but you got to ask for them. That's right. We do offer drug and alcohol counseling also. You have to get with the ladies back there. They'll steer you in the right direction. You can follow us on Facebook for meeting times, and if you don't, we got hard copies of them out there on paper. What about a hero bracelet? Where's our hero bracelet person?
Right here.
What about it, Shay? You want to fill in? Perfect.
All right. Let me get turned the right way so I can see what we got going on.
The 2-month and the 6-month are on order, coming our way.
All right. So 24 hours to 29 days.
Don't be shy. Come get them.
All right. All right. 1 month. What about 2 months? And 3 months? 6 months? 9 months? And then we have red is 1 year. And then, no. And gold is 2 years.
Purple and gold, color of royalty.
Congratulations, Lee.
How about 39 years?
Oh.
That's coming, yeah.
What did you say you had? 40,
46 months.
46 months.
You're gonna have to do a little better than that. How's that? Equate out.
I'm sorry, I went out there.
All right.
You rascal, you throw those funny numbers. You throw those funny numbers up here to me, and I can't. I went to Mississippi State, and I can't add. So I was just kidding, Mississippi State alumni.
I didn't see Kayse Jo smiling over there.
I'm nervous.
This is a really special night for me for two reasons. One reason is our speaker. The other reason is because I get to give out a 39-year chip. I don't think I gave out a 28-year chip one time, but never a 39-year chip. And tonight is going to be the first night I get to do that. And but I want to read this. I want to read this from the Recovery Bible, and you'll find this in this Bible when we give you one. In fact, let's just give you this one here now. You'll find that in that Bible when you read it. It's on page 1265, Feelings of Shame. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another person being the exact nature of our wrongs. And it talks about reading John 8, 3 through 11. And I'm getting new glasses and I can't read in these. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him the woman. This is the story of the woman taken in adultery. To a woman taken in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. She was caught in the act of adultery. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? See, they were always testing Jesus, right? Wrong guy to test. All right. This they said, tempting him that they might accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though they heard him not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted himself up and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her. And again he stooped down. Now he was writing something in the sand. Can you imagine what he was writing in the sand? He was probably writing in the sand all the things these people had done. Now remember, these were the church leaders. And they thought they could get by with anything. So they didn't know that Jesus knew what they'd been doing. They didn't know that Jesus was sleeping with the local prostitutes and stuff like that. But he was writing all this down in the sand, or at least that's what I think he was writing, in the sand. He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote it again on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last, and Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted up himself and saw no one but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are thy accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? And she said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said, Neither do I. Now, he didn't absolve her from her sin. What did he say? Go out and sin no more. And that's what he tells us. He don't bang us. He don't throw shoes at us. He just says, hey, Barry, go out and just don't do it anymore. You know what you did. Don't do it anymore. Step 5 tells us shame has kept many of us in hiding. Shame has kept many of us in hiding. The thought of admitting our sins and revealing ourselves to another human being stirs up feelings of shame and fear of being publicly exposed. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought him unto a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Master, Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? Jesus on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, that is without sin, he that is without sin among you, lest him cast the first stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, and Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. Many believe that it was Jesus writing in the dust that caused the accusers to leave. Perhaps it was listening to the secret sins of the Jewish leaders. If this is true, it gives us a beautiful picture of the kind of person Jesus is, a person to whom we can safely expose our secrets. Our confessor needs to be someone who is not surprised by sin and will not be waiting to condemn us. Such a person needs to take a private note of our wrongs, writing them in soft dust, not etching them in stone and posting them in public. Since shame can be a trigger for addictive behavior, we need to be careful about whom we choose to confide in. And that is step 5 in our, step 5 goes with step 4 in our 12-step, in our 12-step thing, and 12 steps, 5 of the 12 steps. I want to give this tonight to a certain man that I've known for, I guess 11 years, and he was one of the people I call my step sponsor. Willie has been with us for as long as I can remember. I guess, Jeff, 11 years, 12 years or something like that. Been a long time. And Willie, come on up here and get this 39-year chip, man, before I give it and put it in my pocket and keep it myself. Let's give Willie a great... I want you to... I'm going to put this on you. Put this on your little deal right here. And I want you to turn to the crowd. Hold on to that.
Now, Willie, you're going to have to talk.
Turn to the crowd and say a few things, and when you get done, invite this lady to the podium.
Oh, really? I get the honor to, and my best friend, one of my gracious friends.
Get this right here, too, and we're going to put that in there with your picture.
Okay. Well, I got this by doing it one day at a time and believing that I could do this. You know, every day wasn't a good day. And every month wasn't a joyous month. But I just kept believing that I could do this. I had doubts, I had desires, I had dreams of drinking and drugging. But I stuck with people just like you. Hell, they probably look like you. And they definitely didn't look like Jeff. You know, but what he said, or what she said, rung a bell to me. It kept me sober one more day. And each day, I continued to stay sober. And then when I come down to Mississippi, and I didn't speak the language here in Mississippi, although I was born in North Mississippi. But when I came down here, I didn't speak the language that you guys was talking about 12 packs, cases. I didn't understand that, you know, because I didn't drink beer. But you guys are the most beer drinkingest people I ever seen in my life. You know, but y'all are happy people, and I wanted to be happy just like you. I came to Mississippi, I was 5 years sober when I came here. And I found the meeting in Philadelphia, Louisville, and Starksville. And I ended up staying in Philadelphia for a long time. That's when I met Barry here in Philadelphia. When he decided that he wanted to come in, I had the rain, you know. And then I came over here with a good friend of mine one night because she was sponsoring a lady here that, so she said, Willie, let's go by the river. I said, the river? She said, yeah, I'm gonna come by and pick you up. Follow me to the river. Well, of course, I don't follow directions that well, so I got lost. I ended up going toward Kosciuszko, so I came late, but it was for her sponsor. And but I didn't know Barry was running the place here, you know. And so I was surprised, because I hadn't seen him in quite a few years. And so I started coming to the meetings over here at the river, you know, and that's when I met the no-goods, you know, Jeff, the young man next to him, that, you know, they kept me sober. These people kept me sober. They had the same problems I had, but I didn't know it until I asked. You know, and somewhere throughout the week, I hear one of those people talking to me in my head about something. And then I can't wait to talk about it when we get to the meeting. You know, that's what keeps me going, is the meetings and the people in them. I formed a kinship with these people in these meetings. Like the young man over there, that I just love you guys. You know, he got a car. I said, I just be, you know. He said, well, I got a car now. He don't have to walk no more. So you didn't think I knew that. You didn't think I could remember it. I'm still young at heart. But you know, it's just a good feeling to. I never knew 39 years I would be still sober, because I couldn't last 45 minutes after the first treatment I went to. It didn't stop me from trying again. It's just like with you guys. If you ever relapse, don't stop coming back. Keep coming. It works. If you work it, it'll work. You know, and that's all I got to say. And thanks for coming to see a drunk like me. You know.
I got my own mic.
Just introduce her off of there.
Oh, okay. Well, I would like to introduce a good friend of mine that's a drunk and a drug addict like me, but probably more than me, because she knew some people that were a little bit longer than she was. And this is a miracle program that her sponsor, mother, was a friend of my mother's, because my mother was a bootlegger and she lived in Mississippi, a few miles from her sponsor's people. And we just happened to be talking one day, and we connected, you know. And we are still good friends today. And she always, what Kayse Jo doing? You know, she got that little funny accent. I see she started destroying things as normal. Yeah, you know, and I would just like to introduce a good friend of mine called Kayse Jo.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have water, I don't know where it went, but I'm good though.
You got water?
Is that, oh, yeah. All right, my name is Kayse Jo, and my sobriety date is June 1st, 2017. And for that, I am forever grateful. Willie said quite a few things, and I'm just gonna just pick up from some things he shared. I am an alcoholic. I am a dope head. Spent many years in alcoholism and addiction. Started drinking when I was 10. I just turned 52 this 2 months ago, October. Yeah, it's just, time's rolling through. Be 53 before you know it. But my whole life has been nothing but looking for ways to not deal and not feel and not have to cope and not have to own up to anything in my life. And alcohol and drugs work very well for that for quite a long time. When it stopped working, it stopped working. Willie said something about in sobriety, it hadn't always been easy. You know, there were some tough times. And when I got sober and I started working with my sponsor, she asked me, was I willing to go through the steps? And I said, yes, ma'am, I am. And she asked me how willing, and I told her I would go to any length. And she happens to live in Columbus, and I live here in Philadelphia. So I met with her. I would drive to Columbus, and I would meet, and we would do step work. And I did this until I completed all 12 steps. And it took me driving from here to Columbus. And a lot of days I didn't want to, you know, but I wanted to be sober, and I wanted what recovery had to offer. And Willie said something, you know, drunk and alcoholic like him, you know, an alcoholic, and you know, we're all alike. You know, there are so many things that make us different. But when you take away the differences at the core of it, each one of us, we all got a seat here for some reason. We all facing the same issues. We may just be on different levels. You know, 2 years ago, my life looked completely different than it looks today. My biggest thing I had going in my life was God peeling back those layers of that onion. You know, in recovery, we talk, you know, we work on ourselves, and we think, whew, I have arrived. And guess what? God will peel back another layer. We're never through working on ourselves. 2 years ago, my biggest thing was what I walked through with my sister, and this is my little sister, y'all. I love her dearly. And for those of you that were around during that time, it all started, she got a tattoo and didn't tell me. And that seems very trivial, you know, just very small, but for me it was huge. And what that, it was like not overnight. It took me months to get over that. But what it did, God walked me through something, and he pulled that layer of the onion back, and what he showed me was that I was dependent on my sister. Somewhere along the lines, you know, that I had stopped depending on God, and I had made my sister my God. I wouldn't have told you that's what I did, but God showed me that's what I did. And he told me that the relationship we had was not a healthy relationship. It was not a godly sisterly relationship. And he promised me if I would trust him, that the relationship that he built back would be that God-given relationship that I was supposed to have with my sister. And there was so much relief, you know, and I was scared not to, you know, I was scared to trust God because I wanted that relationship I had with her. because I knew I could physically touch her and I could look at her and I could count on her to be there for me. Woohoo! That's quite all right. You know, but stepping out on faith and trusting God to allow him to break down that and rebuild. And 2 years ago, that was my biggest thing in my life. You know, and things happen. My sponsor told me one time that when you first get sober, you work the steps. Life's hard. You know, the longer you're sober, 2-3 year mark rolls around, you start dealing with life on life's terms. And it's not so much about the drink or the drug. It's the family life. It's, you know, it's life on life's terms. And 2 years ago, I was prepared for it. I would tell you, bring it on. You know, I've got my program. I'm sponsoring women. I'm doing service work. I'm doing everything this program asks of me, and I can handle it. Bring it on. Yeah, my daddy got sick. You know, and I can stand here today and I can tell you that I am so grateful that I was blessed with the earthly father that I had. I have become more and more aware that not everybody was blessed to have a dad like I had. And I do not take that for granted at all. But what it did, once again, that layer of that onion, you know, I was okay with God ripping back. And the lady was talking about ripping a Band-Aid. Y'all were here for the earlier meeting. You know, I was okay with that happening with my sister. You know, but I'm not in a relationship, and I haven't been in a relationship for 20-something years. And my ex-husband went to prison for trying to kill me. I survived physically, emotionally, and mentally. I'm just in the past 7 years began to start that healing journey. My dad was the man in my life. When he got sick, it floored me. My sister and I, in which she is my biggest support system, so a lot, you know, I refer to my sister and I a lot, you know, but that Gone with the Wind movie, you know, where that lady, no, she'll worry about that tomorrow, you know, I don't know how it's worded, you know, but that's kind of how we rolled, you know, our dad's sick, we don't know what is the next day is going to bring. You know, I'm just not going to think about it. You know, I'm just going to keep my blinders on and do the next one foot in front of the other. You know, but I had to do a lot of soul searching about that too. You know, it's not so much disassociation. I really think that I was walking in acceptance. I wasn't in control of the situation, but I was accepting life as it was that day. I just wasn't prepared for my dad to die. You know, but in that day, we were just accepting and handling things as they came on that day. But it's easy to manipulate acceptance. You know, I can accept life on life's terms as long as my daddy's alive and he don't die. What God showed me was, though, that I had, once again, you know, God had convicted me, and we had done the refining process, and I had put God back where God was supposed to be. But the truth of the matter is that my dad, once again, I could see my daddy, I could touch my daddy, I could hear the words my dad would share with me. You know, and I was devastated that I was fixing to lose my daddy. And I was not ready. And I'm not ready today, but I completely believe that if we weren't ready, if I wasn't ready to walk without my dad here, my dad would not have gone when he did. You know, and Jackie mentioned about the greater plan. You know, I completely believe that God sets everything up and it's His divine time. I just wasn't ready. Now, my dad passed away November 7th. 2-3 weeks before that, I lost my granddaddy. Other than my sister, that was my very best friend, the old ornery, crankery man. I loved him, you know, but he's gone. I have no men in my life. You know, once again, I'm down, I've got God. And I've been able to appreciate him on a whole different level, that I had gotten confused again. You know, I am standing here today because of God. Not because of my sister, not because of my daddy, not because of my granddaddy, not because of my sponsor, because of God. God allows me to wake up every day. Now, y'all, I'm in another ministry and another program. It's called Celebrate Recovery. We celebrate recovery over things, and we talk about things we struggle with. Anger and rage. I spent a whole year and a half on a step study focusing on nothing but anger and rage. And I celebrated recovery over that. My daddy died, y'all. I don't know how y'all go, but, you know, we go to things we know. We go, you know, that is my initial thing. You know, when things happen in life, I want to revert back. I go to what I know. Now, I've done a whole lot of work on anger and rage. Anger is my very best defense I've got. I secretly love it as much as I hate it. Because if something hurts me, I'm coming at you. I would rather you see this than see what's really going on inside of me. 9 times out of 10, it's something stemming with fear. You know, fear of the unknown, fear of my daddy not being here, just fear. You know, and for me to tell y'all that leaves me vulnerable. I'd rather you hate me for what I'm showing you than for you to really know me. That's not the way recovery is set up. We're not supposed to isolate. We're not supposed to push away. We're supposed to open up and allow our brothers and sisters to help us and walk alongside us. Now, the 12 steps, step 5 was mentioned earlier. I don't know how familiar all of y'all are with the steps, but when I worked the steps, I couldn't do it. That's step 1. I cannot. Ain't no plan, ain't no thing of action. I am powerless over alcohol and drugs. I cannot get a grip on it. I can't do it. Step 2. Came to believe a power greater than me could. I can't do it. Taking me out of the equation, that puts something greater than me is going to have to relieve me of this. No self-will. I cannot get it done. I can't, he can. Step 3, all step 3 was a decision. I'll let him. I can't, he can. I'll let him. And that's where steps 4 and 5 come in, and that's where a lot of those character defects, and I'm talking about my anger and rage. I mean, 6 and 7 were the character defects, but those 4 and 5, those were the things that I had to get to the bottom of before I could even take a look at my part in things. Because up until I got to steps 4 and 5, everything that had ever happened to me in my life, I call them my pew-pews. I could pew-pew y'all to death. Like, you did this, you did that to me. I drank because of he did that, this happened. Steps 4 and 5 gave me the courage, walking alongside God, because at step 3, I think, I'll let him. I'll let him. It allowed me to take what you did to me, and spin my fingers back like this, back at me. And because it's, as long as I stayed in that, what you did, what happened, this happened, I was never going to get sober, because that gave me ammunition. You did that, so I drink. I drink and drug because of this. I mean, and pointing them fingers back at me. It allowed me to see my part in things. Not that I'm a bad person, but if I can find my part in anything, then I can work on it. Because those people that are at the end of those fingers, and I'm not pointing at anybody, y'all, but the people that are at the end of the fingers, they're never, well, I don't say never, 9 times out of 10, they ain't going to say, oh, you know what, I did that to you, I'm so sorry, let's get better. I'm never going to get better trying to get them to own up to what they did to me. I can find some part in it, and I can begin my healing process. And that step 6 and 7, I was so proud when I got to that point, because anger, rage, fear. I worked on myself. I gave God those character defects. I thought I was doing so good, so good. You know, I got steps 8 and 9, made a list of people that I'd harmed and got ready to make amends to them. But even then, it didn't say, hey, you go jump off and go start making it. I just became ready to make them and willing to make them. And then when the time come, make those amends. You know, and that's what got me into service work, because a lot of my amends, I don't want to say a lot, but amends that needed to be made was toward other women, you know, and they were in relationships with men, and I had dealings with their men, you know, and you know, to go and tell a wife, you know, hey, this, I'm sorry I did this, you know, that would harm them. You know, and the 12 steps tell us, except when to do so would injure them or others. So what I did, and my sponsor from day one working with her, she had me dive off into service work, working with other women. Those women that I harmed, I took their husband away. Now, their husband may have not have been with them if they weren't with me, but I had to own my part in things. And I give back to women. That's when that's the first time I truly started seeking out relationships with females, because before that, in the drug world, that you just didn't do stuff like that, you know. But those amends, that's called living amends, and to this day, I still sponsor women, you know, and I will make living amends for some things, you know, that I couldn't go to people for, you know, probably, you know, for the rest of my life. And 9-step promises talk about, you know, when we get to that point, you know, all these things start happening. We get things back in our life, you know, and we start reaping good stuff that this program offers. And then you kick around to step 10, and that's where we want to, like, really, really talk to y'all about tonight. That's like taking personal inventory. Daily spot checks. You know, we did that thorough 4th and 5th step. That digs out everything from our past. You know, if we do it correctly, you read something about being that step 5, dealing with shame, not wanting to share things. But I got news for y'all. You ain't done nothing God don't know about. Nothing God don't know about. You know, I may be ashamed Barry Walker knows something I did, but you know, at the end of the day, I'd rather he knew than God. You know, but you can't get nothing past God. You know, God already knows. Sharing that 5th step, that relieves us, and it purges it out, and it gets it out, you know. And I don't know if y'all have ever shared anything. Once something comes out of your mouth, it loses its power. That's right. It doesn't have the power it had before. You know, so that's a beautiful step, and I strongly, strongly suggest not skipping that step, you know, because what step 10 does is a daily spot check inventory. You know, if I did 4 and 5 correctly, all of that stuff in the past, I don't have to wake up dealing with that every day. Step 10, you know, did I hurt anybody today? Did I say anything wrong? You know, do I need to make an amends? Did I do something good for somebody? Did I help anybody? You know, and I check myself on these things daily. Well, y'all, I'm telling y'all here that I haven't been doing good. Following up with not every day is good, not, you know, every month, every year in sobriety is not great. My sister keeps telling me I'm doing okay in the departments that matter, but I ain't doing good, y'all. You know, those go-to things, those character, that anger and rage. During COVID, I started grocery shopping for my family, doing Walmart pickup. And there are several of you in here in this room that have been around for a while that know my struggles with Walmart delivery. I've had a rap sheet, you know, I'm sure, like, you know, like how you get wrote up. Kayse Jo Jennings is probably up, it was on that wall. I've been wrote up several times because of me losing my temper with Walmart delivery.
I saw you in the post office wall the other day.
Well, okay. You did that. Well, my dad died, right? I'm reverting to anger. I'm reverting to rage. I'm reverting to my old go-to in defense mechanisms. We had a group here before, and when it got time for me to share, I was like, I'm struggling. I ain't sharing because I don't want to hear what somebody else has got to say because I'm struggling. I don't want to hear all great uplifting stuff. I'm struggling, y'all. And that's going back to that Walmart delivery 2.5 weeks ago now. 2.5 weeks ago, I placed 3 different orders. If I place 3 different orders, I should have 3 different orders to put in my car. Don't put all 3 of my orders in one combined batch and expect me to separate it. If I'd have wanted it together, I'd have put it all in one order. You know, this is the old me. This is my thinking, y'all, okay? What I did was the first lady that brought my stuff out, she told me that she was going to have to leave my stuff there and go get someone else because I was just a little too much for her. So she leaves to go inside, and what do? All my stuff's sitting there, so I start separating my stuff myself and acting a fool, y'all. And for all I know, this is Facebook Live, right? And I mean, the lady that was recording me, she may be watching. I don't know what she looks like. I know what her phone looked like. But it was not pretty. You know, I was doing the grocery stuff all myself. My anger got the best of me. I yanked a 12-pack out of that blue crate and drinks started flinging across Walmart delivery, and I'm drinking them up. And then they asked me to leave, and I told that lady, you know, I said a lot of things, and I'm not going to go into detail, but, you know, I said, you could thank me for doing your job. And she told me to leave, and if I had not left, I would have gone to jail because the policeman followed me all the way out of town, and thank God I'm living right these days, you know, because I know he run my tag. But consequences of our actions in recovery. I'm sober, y'all. I acted a fool. 7 years in sobriety, I have worked so far to come from that person that I was. Well, going on 8 years now, you know, that many years ago. And one interaction at Walmart, the way I behaved, that's all those people know me of. They don't know who I am. They just seen how I acted. And when I caught the other woman recording me with her phone, it was just an innocent bystander. I was really ugly to her. We're looking for churches. You know, I told my sister, what am I going to do if I sit down beside that woman that was recording me? And I'm looking for a church, you know, and I'm feeling, you know, less than, you know, I don't want to like raise my hands and praise, you know, out in public. What if that woman looks at me and then I'm making a mockery of God?
She'll probably video you.
Oh, she did video me. You know, and long story short, I can no longer order. I cannot go to Walmart to have anything picked up. I cannot go to Walmart.com and have something shipped to my house. I cannot go to any Walmart delivery in the United States of America. I have been banned. These are consequences of my actions in recovery, y'all. You know, and I have beat myself up over this because that is not who I am. But the truth of the matter is, when the tough gets going, that was exactly who I was. And I want to beat myself up about it because, you know, I'm trying so hard to step into this person that God has called me to be. But you let one thing go south, and I'm going right back to that. Now, it wasn't dope or alcohol this time. It was just me throwing them fists up and the anger. But when life gets tough and life gets hard, I can 100% tell you, if you don't have a program, if you don't reach out, you're gonna go to what you know. You got to put something new in you, new ways to deal, new ways to cope, new ways of handling life on life's terms. Because if you ain't putting anything new, all you know is the old. I have spent 7.5 years putting new in me. You let one thing, you let my daddy die, I go right back to what I know. It's coming across in my household. You know, there's a lot of emotions. My sponsor says, you have a program, you work. And it's not very nice having a program sometimes because I want to be petty too. You know, I just don't want to do the right thing all the time. But because I have been doing the right thing for the past 7.5 years, not doing the right thing doesn't sit well with me. Drinking and doping is not an answer today. And I can either be miserable in sobriety, because that is what it comes down to. It's called dry drunk in AA. You know, it's what it comes down to. You cannot drink and you cannot drug. But if you ain't got a program, you're going to be miserable. And people that try to get sober, they don't have a program, they don't last. And if it's AA, if it's CR, if it is God, because people, you know, I give God all the glory. God sent me to AA because I wasn't ready to own up to a lot of stuff at the time. You know, I was still blaming God for a lot of things, and God says, you need to go to AA. And AA, it made me open my eyes, and I don't say AA trickery, but before I knew it, I had a relationship with my higher power. And what I realized at the end of the day, my higher power is Jesus Christ. You know, and then it like all fell back into when I was a little girl, the God I grew up with. I own my own stuff. I don't blame him for things anymore. Life's gonna happen. And what I have found to be true, the more I'm clinging to God, the more happy he is. And God is going to strip anything and everything he can from you that separates you from him. Got a little ADHD, little squirrel. I tell y'all something I'm not happy with, talking about convictions. I could have gone the rest of my sobriety without God laying this on me, those layers of that onion. You know, I don't know. I haven't seen a bunch of preachers that smoke cigarettes, but I have seen preachers that smoke cigarettes in the past. You know, how can they be a preacher, and why would God not convict them of smoking? I'm just a drunk and an alcoholic. I'm not even a preacher, but you know, this, where's it at? Right here. This thing right here, God has convicted me of this. And I'm not talking, you know, and it's just a vape. I know it's just a vape. But when God convicts you of something and he says put it down, don't do it, and you still toting it, and you still smoking on it, and it's still in your pocket, God ain't happy with me right now. God has already told me to put this down. This is just a vape. But that's another layer that God is saying, you know, okay, oh, what? You know, I told somebody the other day, I'm through growing. You know, God missed me this week, this month, next year. You know, you done tapped and growed me enough. I'm done. You know, but the truth of the matter is, when you're seeking to better yourself and you're truly leaning into God for the answers and to give you the guidance, there is no free days. Every day, you know, every day belongs to my Jesus Christ. And every day that I wake up, I need to better myself, and I need to share his love with my fellow sisters and brothers. Getting off alcohol and drugs, that's the big, huge part. Alcohol and drugs, those are things that separate us from the love of God. Now these 12 steps that we worked, that step 10 I was telling you about, I'm going to read to y'all, and this is just a little something that holds me accountable. When I told y'all about the Walmart thing, right? I squalled for 2 days almost because of how I acted. That was a true reflection of who I was, I thought, but that's not who I am, and God knows my heart. But I'm going to read this. I had to homework from my sponsor. She says, oh, you going to act a fool at Walmart? You going to get kicked out of Walmart? Or what you got to say about what you in your actions at Walmart? You know, and that's like the Walmart people did that. You know, that was my pew-pews, but I had to come back. And this is where the healing takes place. It says, lately, I've been carrying so much pain. Losing my daddy and granddaddy so close together has been overwhelming. And I realize I have emotions. Grief feels like it's drowning me. And my old defense mechanism, anger, has been creeping back in. I thought I had surrendered my anger to God, but in that moment at Walmart, it came rushing out. When I snapped at the worker, I took things out on her that had nothing to do with her. I know now I was already on edge, feeling the weight of everything, and they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then, when I saw the bystander recording me, it felt like an invasion of my privacy in a vulnerable moment, and I snapped again. I'm not proud of what I said or how I acted. It's embarrassing, and it goes against the better person I'm working so hard to become. I've been reflecting on why this happened. I think my grief and emotions have been bottled up too long, and the pressure built until it exploded. It's not fair to take my pain out on others, especially people who are just doing their job or going about their day. I regret how my actions might have hurt or embarrassed them, and right now I feel ashamed and disappointed in myself. I've worked hard to move away from anger being my default response, but this incident showed me I still have work to do. At the same time, I'm trying to show myself grace. Grief is messy, and it's okay that I'm struggling, but I need to find healthier ways to cope. Moving forward, I want to remember that my emotions, no matter how intense, don't justify lashing out at others. If I feel overwhelmed again, I will pause, take a breath, and lean on the tools I've learned in AA. And I'll also share with my sponsor, and I'll share in meetings, because I know I can't face this journey alone. Most of all, I pray for forgiveness from God, from the worker and the bystander, and from myself. I trust that God is walking with me through this pain, and I'm choosing to believe that each day is an opportunity to grow, even when I stumble. We ain't perfect, y'all. Without a program, I would still be stuck in what that Walmart worker did and putting them things in, big order. I mean, I don't know. I have rage, but this right here, this keeps me humble. This keeps me on what I can work on. Without a sponsor, help and guide me, I wouldn't have done a 10-step inventory, and I would have still been stuck, and I would have still been I'd have probably been doing a lot of things. But that's step 10, 11 and 12, sought through prayer and meditation, conscious contact with God. To me, I got sober. These steps, they help me grow spiritually. If I'm seeking God and I'm seeking His understanding, I'm seeking His consciousness, then I am seeking a walk with my Christ. They go hand in hand. And step 12, having had the spiritual awakening, tried to carry this message to other alcoholics. I showed up here today at 4:30 and didn't have to speak to 6. The reason I showed up at 4:30, because if I hadn't have come when I did, I wouldn't have come. I ain't been doing good. But this keeps me sober. Helps keep me sober. Let me get my words out right. When I don't want to be here. I told somebody earlier, I love all y'all, but I don't like you. I'm not liking people right now. Because people come with questions, it's intrusiveness, and all they do is care. So I know I've got to come back to me. I'm the one with problems. It's not them, they genuinely care. But I show up and I don't have a whole lot of inspirational things to say this go around, because life has been tough. It has knocked my feet out from under me, and I'm still not standing. And I do know, though, that this program has told me when times like this, I step out, I don't isolate, and I get in the middle of. And that's why I'm here tonight. That's all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Joe.